Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and today's video is brought to you by Manscaped, but more on that in a little bit. They all come back, don't they, tail between their bloody legs? Alright, not all of them, and not necessarily some of them with their tail between their legs, but the point still sort of stands, doesn't it? Also, don't kick off in the comments. It's only a joke, this, and the title's only there to get you to click so What Culture can afford my lavish salary, and I know it's not Simon Miller, but let's be honest, it could be a lot worse, eh? Anyway, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are 10 wrestlers who came crawling back to WWE. Number 10, the New Age Outlaws. As of recording this in early 2022, WWE has spent much of the prior 2 years doing away with around 150 contracts to make budget cuts arm in arm with record profits. The heartless bastards. Talent impacted by this capitalist skullduggery need only look to the 80s, 90s, and, well, now, should they want to vent their spleens on podcasts, What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, Q&A evenings, or, where they even still exist, low-budget shoot interviews. As that cottage industry boomed with the birth of tape trading and the internet at large in the mid-90s, so did the prevalence of stories that had only been shared in the likes of the Wrestling Observer before then. The New Age Outlaws crapped from every height onto Triple H specifically for how their relatively short but hugely profitable runs hit the skids. Those promos were popular enough that TNA made them Impact canon. Voodoo Kin Mafia existed to neg WWE and DX before remotely concentrating on getting their own house in order. Time heals all wrestling wounds that aren't fatal though, and Road Dogg and Billy Gunn were both back in the fold and wearing gold by 2014. Number 9, Shane McMahon. Shane O'Mac's 2016 return was an unusual case of the McMahon family accurately reading the room when it came to outside takes on themselves. The February 22nd edition of Monday Night Raw kicked off with Vince McMahon attempting to present a Vince McMahon Senior Humanitarian Award to his daughter Stephanie. Bullshit on top of bollocks that wouldn't have flown had it not been for the blockbuster payoff that they had in store. Landing back on screens for the first time in over 6 years, the money proved his worth as the most popular member of the family with a monster pop and a posited match that sold tens of thousands of extra tickets for that year's WrestleMania. Absence makes the heart grow fondest in wrestling, and never has this been any clearer. I mean, yeah, he overfed himself to the folk in the years that followed, McMahon's always do, but it was still shocking to hear that his egomaniacal Royal Rumble 2022 performance had partially resulted in his release. Ah well, the 2028 comeback angle is probably already in the works. Number 8, Hulk Hogan. The Hulkster refused to commit to exactly where he was going, what he was doing, or indeed why he was going away in and around the time of WrestleMania 8 in 1992. This was because doing so would have involved yet more speaking around an area he'd already proven himself rather weak at. A 1990 appearance on the Arsenio Hall show was an exercise in media spin gone horribly wrong. By fibbing about the amount of steroids he'd taken in his career up to that point, Hogan inadvertently opened up a Pandora's box that had been bursting at the seams for years. 2 years on, and WWE was further engulfed in scandal, extending to lawsuits surrounding drugs, death, and sexual assault claims. As the front-facing company representative, when times were extremely good, it looked like he was going to have to eat crap during the dark timeline too. But that didn't work for him, brother, and off he popped until some of the dust had settled in early '93. Number 7. Hulk Hogan again and again and again. This was the story of Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon once the genuine and box office magic of his 2002 return had well and truly worn off. Back when discerning booking choices still had to be made based on things like buy rates and gate receipts in WWE, those were the days. Hogan's value was fairly easy to gauge. His WrestleMania 18 return was an undeniable show stealer, and his championship victory the following month felt like the way to capitalize. As numbers plummeted though, McMahon quickly realized the thirst was for nostalgia, or what about the Attitude Era, rather than the little and often doses of the Hulkster. Hogan, of course, didn't completely agree and stepped away when requests to defeat Brock Lesnar at November's Survivor Series were rebuffed, thankfully. All was made well for a WrestleMania bout with McMahon himself the following spring, though, and a Shawn Michaels story in 2005, and a SummerSlam time filler against Randy Orton, too. Each run felt more of a mutually beneficial offering than any kind of creative impetus, and it's been the template for the two sides ever since.
Yes, it's actually just much funnier if you do it in a shirt and a funny voice. Oh wait, it's on. Hello! Oh, hello. Spokesperson for Scrotal Satisfaction, Josh Brown here, and if there's one thing we know at WhatCulture.com, it's balls. Ooh. And that's why we have, once again, partnered with Manscaped.com to bring you their incredible Performance Package 4.0 bundle. I mean, look at it. Packaging and production design almost as sleek and as smooth as the downstairs regions of my colleagues. Almost. First, say hello to my little friend here, the Lawnmower 4.0. Its replaceable ceramic blades with skin-safe technology and an LED light help you trim with confidence and see everything with perfect clarity. Too much clarity, some would say, but not me. It's also good for beard maintenance if you give it a clean, and it comes with a wireless charging dock and a triple lock feature for when you're on the move. 3 clicks, and then you're good to go. Put simply, there'll be no more funny looks in the baggage claim when your bag is, quote-unquote, acting weird. Out of the shower, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant has you covered for clear, drying moisturizing that'll keep it downstairs fresh all day. And on the other ball, the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray with cooling aloe vera is there for your midday refresh. Smells like balls. For a limited time as well, you can get 2 free gifts with your order. The Shed Travel Bag and these Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Shorts, which just completely changed my life. Finally, sign up to the Peak Hygiene Plan to get replenishments of your favorite products delivered straight to your door, no fuss. So, what are you waiting for? Go to manscaped.com right now to get 20% off and free international shipping when you use our code WHAT20 at the checkout. That's the code WHAT20 when you check out. But for now, back to that video.
Number 6, Brock Lesnar. Okay, let's just get this out of the way early because I'm a little bit terrified of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar crawls nowhere unless he wants to, but his ability to extract money from Vince McMahon's pocket for his services stretches beyond almost everyone else's on this list. Scouted young by Gerald Briscoe and Jim Ross and pushed hard when he finally hit the main roster in 2002, the next big thing was a can't miss that eventually just elected to stop firing. 3 WWE Championship runs, 2 years, and 1 WrestleMania main event were enough for him to announce that he was leaving shortly before only his second Show of Shows appearance in 2004. By the time he returned in 2012, he'd wrestled elsewhere in spite of a court order not to, had that overturned, and upped his value by orders of magnitude thanks to an even more financially fruitful run in the UFC. A decade into Lesnar being WWE through and through has now made the original stint look like that was the dalliance, but none of this felt plausible during his time away. It's perhaps why McMahon appears to bend the knee for the beast more than anybody in company history. Number 5, Shawn Michaels. Right, apologies in advance, Mr. Editor, but Shawn Michaels did not give a in 1997. It was the amount of not giving a where you've got to pronounce a with 17 U's or do away with altogether, because he didn't have any left to give at all. The Heartbreak Kid was losing a battle with his personal demons, and his professional life had never been more fraught as a result. Trapped in a philosophical war with Bret Hart that sprawled between their on- and off-screen lives, Michaels' other clique pals beyond Triple H were making fortunes in WCW, whilst he bounced in and out of speculative retirement, a search for a smile, and a changing television product he was trying to figure himself back into. All of this converged to chaos about once a week, but never more so than when he scrapped with the Hitman for real over the old sunny days comment he peppered a promo with the week prior. Storming out of the building on that wild July, he swore allegiance to his mates and to WCW. After all the requisite toing and froing, though, he was back by August. Number 4, Sable. There's a lot of speculative ugliness around Sable's 2003 return. It was, let's be honest, unexpected in the extreme, but what she was asked to do as a character following her comeback really shouldn't have been. The former women's champion returned following WrestleMania 19 as a big, post-show of shows story, caught a cold from all the lesbian pollen flowing around, and spent months in a strange, strained, and then completely friendly relationship with Tori Wilson. It fell off for good reason, or more good reasons than usual anyway. When Sable had left the company in 1999, she had done so under a cloud of grim acrimony. Millions of dollars were being fought over in court, including allegations of involvement in storylines not too dissimilar from the ones I just mentioned. After all, she'd become one of the company's biggest stars during their improbable second boom. The run was short enough that it almost became forgettable, which is probably for the best. When she wasn't kissing Wilson, she was necking on with McMahon himself, and I can think of one person right now who probably doesn't want to think about that. Number 3, Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler did a very honourable thing in 2001. It's not very often you hear those words in a sentence, eh? Upon learning that his real-life wife, Stacey the Cat Carter, was to be released, he upped and left with her. The two were in very different positions at the company at the time, though, and perhaps Lawler believed that a move away from the prestigious Monday Night Raw broadcast booth alongside Jim Ross would convince Vince McMahon to change his mind. When he didn't, the king was well and truly without his crown. Things got worse that year as the relationship between Carter and Lawler dissolved. The one between Ross and newly hired commentary replacement Paul Heyman re-blossomed, and things looked bleak for the Memphis Icon's return prospects. McMahon and his inner circle, though, obviously missed the king's squealing musings. When a Survivor Series loss for Heyman's alliance necessitated Heyman's on-screen firing in November, Jerry was jetted straight back in, with all former ills forgiven. Number 2, Eric Bischoff. Eazy-E was extremely easygoing during his 2002 to 2005 run as a performer with WWE. He probably knew he kinda had to be. Eric Bischoff, the EVP, had briefly forced Vince McMahon's nose right into the crap in the mid-90s, so when the winner of the Monday Night Raws doubled the dosage on the loser, it was mostly written off as fair game, not least because Bischoff seemed to come out of the experience in one piece. He'd enjoyed his run, got out before the whole thing got to him, and managed to continue working in wrestling without ever falling under the corporate thumb of McMahon. All until 15 years later, he somehow ended up doing just that. The strange spell in 2019 he spent as SmackDown's executive director was eventually defined more by what he allegedly did behind the scenes, sat in catering, than any major changes that happened on screen. Bischoff affected just about zero change before he was let go in October. Number 1, Cody Rhodes. For the fat end of a year, Cody Rhodes' AEW arc seemed destined to end in a formal, in-character heel turn. He'd been getting the dreaded mixed reactions ahead of eventually just soaking up most of the booze in any building, had been a pretty convincing piece of crap on television behind the insincerity of the odd forced smile, and most tellingly made it clear that he would not turn. If we're honest, it got too clunky for its own good, and a few too many viewers were reaching a little too hard, bro, for something bigger than it ever was. But his return to the dark side was imminent. And now, well, it's complete. On February the 15th, 2022, Rhodes broke any remaining hearts left intact by Valentine's Day and parted ways with the company he's embedded in the DNA of. Immediately, news broke of a potential WWE return, and a potential signing was at long last reported as a done deal on March the 18th. It is, without doubt, one of the biggest stories of the year, one of the biggest stories of the decade, and it will only get bigger pending his actions on screen as well as off. That it's happened at all is a stark reminder of what really drives the industry. Jim Ross reckons it's cash and creative, but the former always trumps the latter. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and you can find me on there at Adam Wilborn. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from What Culture, and I'll see you soon.